truly, well, I mean, this was appalling on a number of different levels. One was just the sheer waste of government resources involved in following around my clients who are very concerned about the rights of horses, right? As well as sort of the terrifying, frankly, idea that our state government was spending money to spy on us for the benefit of corporations that it's supposed to regulate. You start wondering, who do they work for? And that is one of the problems anytime you start talking about this collection of information. Who are they working for? I thought the government worked for us. I had that idea. That we elect them, and we pay them, and they are somehow accountable to us. But that is really not the dynamic that has been playing out. Either if you talk about the example of the Office of Homeland Security feeding information about citizens to private corporations, but also if you talk about these fusion sectors, which the government keeps as secret as possible and won't answer questions about, won't give out information. We've seen an incredible increase in government surveillance of what you might call First Amendment protected activity, right? Your people writing, your people protesting, your people having meetings. We tell activists to simply assume, at least in Philadelphia, and I think in most places, that if they have an online chat room or bulletin board, that some of those participants are police officers, that if they're going to have a rally or an event, there are going to be undercover police officers there, and indeed, if they're having a planning meeting, quite likely there's an undercover police officer in the room. And that's for groups that have never been even accused of a violent act. It is a problem of resources, it's a problem of what is considered suspicious, what is considered dangerous. At this point, dissent is considered dangerous. Back in 2006, we made a bit of a splash when we got some documents through a Freedom of Information Act request from the FBI and published documents showing that for a year and a half, the FBI had the Thomas Merton Center in Pittsburgh under surveillance. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Thomas Merton Center. It's like the Catholic workers. These are pacifist peace organizations vaguely affiliated with the Catholic Church, where they work with everybody. And these memos were things like FBI agents going to a rally against the then roll-up to the war, to the invasion in Iraq, and counting people they thought looked Middle Eastern. They're reporting back to their superiors about that. It's a phenomenal waste of resources. It is a phenomenal misdirection of our government's suspicion and energy. Why do we now have the coordinated forces of our law enforcement agents that are supposed to root out crime, our international intelligence agents that are supposed to be watching for, say, international terrorism, and our local police all working together and turning their attention on average citizens who are involved in expressing their views, trying to participate in their democracy in the ways that we are all taught we're supposed to participate. It's a really frightening thing. Where does it come from? A lot of people say this started after 9/11. That's not true. Our government has spied on people involved in anti-war or any kind of reform movement, frankly, for as long as we've had our government. Sometimes more invasively, sometimes less invasively. We are coming up on the 40th anniversary of the break-in in media that exposed the COINTEL program of the FBI, which was an extraordinarily aggressive program of infiltration and harassment of people involved in dissent, particularly opposition to the Vietnam War, but also people involved in the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, etc. The COINTEL program went much, much farther than the sort of infiltration we're talking about, extended to murder in some cases.
Black Panthers.
Yes, there were Black Panthers murdered. I mean, that's just simply true. It's completely, frankly, admitted at this point by the FBI. And when that broke, people got very upset, and we had the Church Commission in Congress, which investigated and found that the FBI had been expending an extraordinary amount of resources to surveil and harass ordinary people simply trying to participate in their democracy. And there was pending legislation to restrict the FBI from doing that. And the FBI said, no, 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 you don't need to do that. See, we're looking down the barrel of legislation that's going to control what we're going to do. We don't want you to control what we're going to do. We're going to voluntarily change our internal regulations so that the FBI cannot conduct surveillance on groups without even a whisper of criminal activity involved in their actions and their programs. That lasted until early 2002, when in the wake of 9/11, John Ashcroft lifted those restrictions on the FBI. I have to say I'm not sure that significantly changed the FBI's behavior. I think we have, through Freedom of Information Act requests and otherwise, we have seen the FBI never really stopped spying on Americans. But now, it's not just the FBI, right? Now it's all the rage, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is technology. You use that cell phone, you use your computer, you get the easy pass, you get that nifty discount card from the grocery store, the pet food store, and the other store, and all of these modern conveniences make it far, far easier for commercial interests and the government to track what we're doing. And there are folks who believe in simply a total information database. The government, there are a number of people in all levels of government that feel that they will do their job best if they just have a great big database that basically has all the available information about all of you, whether or not you've ever done anything wrong. And they are moving rapidly toward that. We are not far from that sort of a dynamic. So technology, every new technology is a new avenue for the government to track and follow what you're doing. And of course, it has become big business. It has become an incredibly expanded area of government at every level, right? We've got I can't remember, the Washington Post article about the expanding intelligence community. It was well over 1,000 of separate agencies within the federal government and federal contractors performing various surveillance and intelligence activities, a great many of them domestic. This, in case any of you are unemployed, this is job growth in America. It's